A competitive antagonist binds to the same site on a receptor as the agonist. This prevents the agonist from binding. However, if you increase the concentration of the agonist, it can outcompete the antagonist and produce the full effect. So, a competitive antagonist does not reduce the maximum effect, efficacy, but it makes the agonist less potent. You need a higher dose to get the same effect. Example: diazepam is an agonist at the GABA A receptor. Flumazenil is a competitive antagonist that blocks diazepam's effects by competing for the same binding site. USMLE Question 1. A patient receives flumazenil to reverse the sedative effects of diazepam. Flumazenil acts by binding to the same receptor site as diazepam without activating it. Which of the following best describes flumazenil's mechanism of action? A. Allosteric agonist. B. Competitive antagonist. C. Non-competitive antagonist. D. Partial agonist. E. Inverse agonist. Correct answer? B. Competitive antagonist. Explanation: flumazenil competes with diazepam for the same binding site on the GABA A receptor. It does not activate the receptor but prevents the agonist from binding. This is the definition of a competitive antagonist. Why not the others? A. Allosteric agonists bind elsewhere and enhance the agonist effect. C. Non-competitive antagonists do not compete at the same site and cannot be overcome. D. Partial agonists produce some activation, which flumazenil does not. E. Inverse agonists reduce receptor activity below baseline, which flumazenil does not. USMLE Question 2. Which of the following best describes the effect of a competitive antagonist on the dose-response curve of an agonist? A. Shift to the left, decreased potency. B. Shift to the right, decreased potency. C. Shift down, decreased efficacy. D. No shift, but increased efficacy. E. Shift to the left, increased potency. Correct answer: B. Shift to the right, decreased potency. Explanation: a competitive antagonist increases the amount of agonist needed to produce the same response. This shifts the dose-response curve to the right but does not change the maximum effect. This is known as reduced potency. Why not the others? A. A shift to the left indicates increased potency, which is incorrect. C. A downward shift would mean decreased efficacy, seen with non-competitive antagonists. D. Competitive antagonists do not increase efficacy. E. Potency is decreased, not increased.